At that fancy dinner, my sister Mia looked at my boyfriend Ethan and said, "Don't you think I'd be a better fit for your family's future?" I watched his face light up. That's when I knew my 4-year relationship was over. But what they didn't know was that I was a computer science graduate with a master's in artificial intelligence from Stanford, working as a senior software architect at a Fortune 500 tech company, making $165,000 annually. They saw me as the quiet, nerdy sister who wore thrift store clothes and lived in a tiny apartment. They had no idea I was about to turn their betrayal into a multi-million-dollar empire that would destroy everything they'd built. The dinner was at the Blackwood family estate, one of those sprawling mansions that screamed old money and older arrogance. Mrs. Blackwood had called it a casual family gathering, but when I arrived in my borrowed dress and thrift store shoes, I realized it was anything but casual. The dining room was filled with the city's elite, all perfectly dressed and discussing their perfectly curated lives. And there was Mia, seated in the place of honor next to Ethan, wearing an emerald green dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. What made this betrayal particularly devastating was my professional background in strategic planning and systematic analysis. For the past 5 years at TechFlow Dynamics, I'd specialized in identifying market inefficiencies and developing software solutions that generated millions in revenue. My analytical mind immediately recognized this dinner for what it was, a carefully orchestrated audition, with Mia as the star performer and me as the supporting cast member being written out of the script. Throughout the evening, Mr. Blackwood would ask me patronizing questions about my little computer hobby before turning to Mia with genuine interest about her entry-level marketing position. "Now, Mia, tell everyone about your innovative campaign strategies. We see real executive potential there." Every story I told about my work developing AI systems was met with polite, vacant stares, while Mia's embellished tales of organizing office parties were greeted with enthusiastic applause. The message was crystal clear. I was the consolation prize and they'd found their upgrade. But what the Blackwoods didn't understand about my professional expertise was that I'd spent years analyzing human behavioral patterns and market dynamics. I could see exactly what was happening, and more importantly, I knew how to document it. While they focused on humiliating me, I was mentally cataloging every slight, every dismissive comment, every piece of evidence that would later prove invaluable. My strategic mind was already 3 steps ahead, planning for contingencies they couldn't even imagine. The breakup came exactly 1 week later. Ethan stood by my apartment window, refusing to sit on my thrift store sofa as if poverty might be contagious, and delivered his rehearsed speech about needing stability and someone who understood his world. When I asked directly if this was about Mia, he couldn't even look me in the eye. "My parents think she's a better match," he said, as if our 4-year relationship was a business merger that had failed due diligence. What they'd all missed was that my little computer hobby had generated over $50 million in revenue for TechFlow Dynamics through my AI-powered contract analysis software. My salary was just the beginning. I held stock options worth nearly $800,000, had been approached by 3 venture capital firms about starting my own company, and maintained a professional network that included some of the most powerful people in Silicon Valley. I wasn't the struggling scholarship student they remembered. I was a rising star in the tech industry who'd been deliberately hiding my success to avoid exactly the kind of gold-digging behavior I was now witnessing. My strategic response began immediately. Instead of emotional outbursts or desperate pleas, I activated my professional network. My first call was to Rebecca Lawson, a partner at the city's most prestigious family law firm who specialized in high-net-worth divorces and business disputes. Rebecca had been trying to recruit me for their tech consulting division for months. "I'm not surprised they underestimated you," she said during our consultation. "Arrogant old money families always assume intelligence comes with the right pedigree. That's usually their downfall." My second call was to Marcus Webb, a venture capitalist who'd been courting me to leave TechFlow and start my own company. Marcus had connections throughout the legal and business community, plus access to more capital than the Blackwoods could dream of. "You know what they say about revenge," Marcus laughed when I outlined my situation. "It's a dish best served with a business plan and unlimited funding." Within 48 hours, I had preliminary term sheets for $2 million in startup capital. The third piece of my strategic foundation was Dr. James Harrison, my former Stanford professor who now ran the university's AI incubator program. James had been pushing me to commercialize my contract analysis algorithms for years, insisting they could revolutionize the legal industry. "The market timing is perfect," he explained during our call. "Law firms are desperate for efficiency solutions, and your technology is exactly what they need. We could have you profitable within 18 months. But my most valuable asset was something none of them knew about: my comprehensive documentation system. As a software architect, I developed the habit of maintaining detailed records of everything: conversations, emails, financial transactions, professional achievements. While other people relied on memory and emotion, I had 5 years of data proving my contributions to TechFlow, my growing industry reputation, and most importantly, a complete digital trail of Ethan and Mia's secret relationship that had been developing for months behind my back. The evidence was devastating. Text messages between them discussing how to handle the Olivia situation, email chains where Mia coached Ethan on how to make me feel insecure about my appearance and social status, even recordings from family dinners where they mocked my computer nerd personality while planning their future together. They'd been so confident in their deception that they documented everything, creating a perfect case study in strategic betrayal that would serve as the foundation for my comeback. My business plan was elegantly simple: take my contract analysis AI technology and create a B2B software company that would dominate the legal services market. But the target market wasn't random law firms. Through my research, I'd identified that Blackwood Industries' primary revenue stream came from providing legal and consulting services to mid-tier companies. Their client list included dozens of firms that were perfect prospects for my AI solution, and their outdated business model made them extremely vulnerable to technological disruption. The company I founded, Veritech Solutions, launched with $2 as million in Series A funding and an advisory board that included 3 former Google executives, 2 Stanford professors, and the former CTO of IBM's AI division. Our contract analysis software could review legal documents 500 times faster than human lawyers while identifying potential issues with 94% accuracy. The value proposition was irresistible: reduce legal costs by 60% while improving quality and speed. Our first major client was Henderson and Associates, the prestigious law firm where Mia had been bragging about her future corner office. The irony was perfect. The same firm that had been courting her for a junior marketing position was now paying my company $300,000 annually for software that made their entire business model more efficient. When the managing partner mentioned during our contract signing that they'd decided to eliminate their marketing department entirely in favor of AI-driven client acquisition, I smiled and said nothing. But the real strategic masterstroke was our partnership with TechFlow Dynamics. My former employer became our first major enterprise client, paying $1 million annually to license the enhanced version of the software I'd originally developed as their employee. The licensing agreement included a clause giving Veritech exclusive rights to market similar solutions to their competitor network, effectively creating a monopoly in the contract analysis space. Within 12 months, Veritech Solutions had grown to 45 employees, $8 million in annual recurring revenue, and a client list that included half of the major law firms on the East Coast. More importantly, our success was systematically undermining Blackwood Industries' traditional business model. Companies that had previously paid premium rates for human legal analysis were switching to our AI solution, which delivered better results at a fraction of the cost. The industry recognition came fast and hard. Forbes named me to their 30 under 30 list in the enterprise technology category. TechCrunch featured Veritech as the AI company revolutionizing legal services. Harvard Business School invited me to guest lecture on disruptive innovation in traditional industries, but the sweetest victory was the invitation to keynote the annual Legal Technology Conference, the same event where Blackwood Industries had been a major sponsor for the past decade. Walking onto that stage, looking out at an audience of 2,000 legal industry professionals, I spotted them immediately. The Blackwood family, seated in the VIP section, they'd paid $5,000 per seat to attend, their faces showing the progression from confusion to recognition to pure shock. They'd come to network and scout for new business opportunities. Instead, they were watching me explain how artificial intelligence was making their entire business model obsolete. My presentation was clinical, professional, devastating. I didn't mention them by name, but every case study I shared was a direct attack on traditional legal consulting firms that relied on prestige and connections rather than innovation and efficiency. When I revealed that Veritech had captured 23% of the contract analysis market in just 12 months, representing over $45 million in revenue that had previously gone to traditional firms, the audience erupted in applause. The afterword was brutal for them and satisfying for me. Mr. Blackwood approached with his practiced business smile, extending his hand as if we were old friends. "Olivia, what an impressive achievement. We had no idea you were capable of this level of innovation. Perhaps we should discuss a partnership opportunity." I looked at his outstretched hand, then at his face, and said simply, "I'm sorry, but Veritech doesn't partner with companies that aren't strategically aligned with our vision for the future." Mia tried next, grabbing my arm as I walked toward the exit, her designer dress wrinkled and her makeup smudged from stress. "Olivia, please, we need to talk. You don't understand what my life with Ethan is really like. His family controls everything. I'm trapped." I gently removed her hand from my arm and replied, "I understand perfectly. You made your choice based on what you thought was security. I made mine based on what I knew was opportunity." The final confrontation came 6 months later when Ethan appeared unannounced at my office. Veritech had just completed our Series B funding round, raising an additional $15 million at a $120 million valuation. My personal net worth had crossed $25 million, and we'd just signed a partnership deal with Microsoft that would integrate our AI into their legal software suite. Ethan looked diminished, desperate, nothing like the confident golden boy who dismissed me as unsuitable for his family's standards. "Olivia," he began, his voice shaking slightly. "I know I made mistakes. Terrible mistakes. But we were good together. We understood each other. And now, with everything you've accomplished." He paused, clearly struggling with what came next. "Blackwood Industries is in trouble. We're losing clients to companies like yours. We could merge our operations, combine your technology with our client relationships. We could rebuild what we had, but stronger." I let him finish his pathetic pitch, studying his face as he spoke. The desperation was obvious, but so was the calculation. He wasn't here because he loved me or because he'd realized his mistake. He was here because his family's business was failing, and he saw me as a life raft. Looking at him across my executive desk, in my corner office overlooking the city, I felt nothing but pity. "Ethan," I said finally, my voice calm and professional, "you're absolutely right about one thing. We did understand each other. You understood that I was valuable enough to spend 4 years with, but not valuable enough to defend when your family decided I wasn't suitable. And I understand that you're not here because you love me, but because you need me." I stood up and walked to the door. "The answer is no. Veritech doesn't acquire failing companies, especially ones built on outdated business models and family connections instead of actual competence. The door closing behind him was the most satisfying sound I'd ever heard. 3 weeks later, Blackwood Industries announced they were closing their legal consulting division and laying off 60% of their workforce. Mia called me 17 times that day, leaving increasingly desperate voicemails about how sorry she was, how she'd made a mistake, how she needed help because Ethan was talking about divorce and she had nowhere to go. I never called her back. Instead, I blocked her number and focused on the future. Veritech went public 18 months later with an IPO that valued the company at $800 million. My personal stake was worth $180 million, making me one of the youngest female tech CEOs to achieve 9-figure wealth. Forbes put me on the cover with the headline, "The Quiet Revolution: How AI is Reshaping American Business." Today, I'm engaged to Dr. Michael Torres, a brilliant AI researcher I met at Stanford who sees my intelligence as my most attractive quality. We're building our dream house in Palo Alto, planning our wedding, and developing the next generation of artificial intelligence solutions. Meanwhile, Ethan works as a mid-level account manager at an insurance company. Mia returned to community college to finish her degree, and the Blackwood family sold their mansion to pay off debts from their failed business ventures. The lesson they learned too late was simple. Never underestimate someone based on their appearance, their family background, or their willingness to stay quiet while you reveal your true character. My success wasn't revenge. It was simply the natural consequence of choosing innovation over arrogance, competence over connections, and strategic thinking over social climbing.